What is going on, baseball fans? How are we doing on this lovely Friday the 13th? No bad luck for me so far. Can't wait for my computer to explode right in the middle of this stream. That'll be great. But I hope you're all doing fabulous today. It's Friday. I was playing that Rebecca Black Friday song all day. That's still a jam. I don't know if any of you still listen to that. But yeah, if you haven't, go listen to it. It's one of the best songs out there. But in today's video, I'm going to go over my top 10 players that I think could be traded this offseason. So let's not waste any time. Let's get to it. And how are we doing, everyone? Hope everyone is doing great. Hope you're all dandy. Hope you're all well. Hope everyone's doing good. We have a few people in here right now. Hopefully they start to filter in more. We're up to 21 people in the chat so far. I'm seeing some old faces. Drew, Venny, Jordan Jones, Jackson 3. What is going on? Hello, Jared Grant. How are we doing? Romano Jr. Ramirez, Damian Ramirez. How are we doing? AJ Ayala. How are we doing? Josh Lubchinsky is in the house. Hello, hello. David Rio, BZ Baseball. How's everyone doing? AJK, Big Dan. How are we doing? R7 Ben. Hello, hello. But yeah, so in today's, or tonight, wow, it's what is it, 8 o'clock at night already? But we're going to go into my top 10 players that could be traded this offseason. This is based off of just stuff that I've read, whether on the internet or stuff that I've just listened to on radio stuff or podcasts or whatever. Some of these are maybe a bit more speculation on my end. But yeah, we might as well just get right into it. We're up to 26 people in the chat. I think that is a good place to start. But let's get right into it. At number 10, I have Giancarlo Stanton. So this one is probably the most far-fetched out of all of them. If there is any of these that were not going to happen, this one's probably it. But you know what? This one is fun to talk about. This one is fun to think about. And I think there's a lot of benefits for the Yankees to maybe unload Giancarlo Stanton. First off, Giancarlo Stanton, he's had his health issues in the last couple of years. He has been strictly a DH for the last, basically, 2 seasons. Anytime he goes out into the outfield, his leg falls off pretty much, or his arm pops off, or something happens. He breaks his neck. I don't know, whatever it is with him. There's always something going on with him, but he did prove to be still the Giancarlo Stanton that we know this past postseason. He was hitting home runs all over the place. The guy can still murder a baseball 1,000 feet. So that type of offensive production, I think, is going to be something that other teams might want to take a look at. A big hurdle for him is the huge contract that he has. That's going to be a big hurdle, but maybe there are some teams out there that maybe want to get rid of some bad contracts as well. I've seen one trade. It was more of a suggestion of anything. There's no legitimacy to this. It's not even a rumor. It was just a suggestion from, I forget if it was someone on the New York Post or New York Times or whatever it may be, but suggesting maybe you could trade Giancarlo Stanton to the Cubs. You could get back maybe a guy like Yu Darvish. You can get some bad contracts back, maybe like a Jason Hayward, a Craig Kimbrell, something like that. But I think it could be beneficial for the Yankees if they were to maybe somehow unload that contract where, in a sense, he's creating a bit of a logjam there. There are some other guys that really could get some at-bats with the Yankees, and he would free up a lot of space. So let me actually share my screen. Let me get to the Yankees depth chart. I mean, the first guy that really comes right off the screen for me is Aaron Judge. This is another guy that gets hurt a lot. Maybe you could have him DH a few times a week. That would really take some of the load off of him in the outfield, give him some just at-bats at DH. You got a guy like Mike Tauchman out there. Or Toshman, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He could get some at-bats. A guy like Mike Ford, he was pretty dreadful last year, but, someone like him, maybe he can get some at-bats. I just think it would provide a lot of flexibility for this Yankees team. Maybe, and if they hung on to Gary Sanchez, and, hey, we'll get to Gary Sanchez here in a little bit. He might, maybe, make an appearance on this list. Spoiler alert. But Gary Sanchez, if they were to hang on to him, maybe you could have him DH more. He has just not really been an effective catcher for the Yankees. So maybe that's a possibility. So Giancarlo Stanton, I think you're going to see maybe some teams maybe kick the tires, because there are some teams that really could use some offense. And he does have the no trade clause, but I wonder if maybe he would approve of some trades. You got some teams out there that really could use some offense. If we go take a look at the offensive rankings from last year, if you go look at some teams that really could use some offense, the one team, like I said, I mentioned a second ago, the Cubs. The Cubs, they got some guys that are going to be coming free agents soon. They could really use some more offense. They only ranked 22nd in offensive runs above average last year. So maybe the Cubs could maybe look at him. Maybe they want to get, something new. They need a bopper in that lineup. And Giancarlo Stanton in Wrigley Field, that would be insane. Yes, he would have to play some outfield there if they end up not getting the DH, which is looking like the National League is not going to get the DH. But maybe a team like the Cubs, maybe the Cardinals can try and revisit a Giancarlo Stanton trade. They went for him a couple years ago. Them and the Giants were going after him a couple years ago before he was traded to the Yankees. Maybe you could see one of those two teams try again. I don't know. I think, again, he has to approve a trade. Maybe the Dodgers. Could you imagine the Dodgers? They're feeling spicy. They want to just make a murderer's row lineup. Maybe they go after a Giancarlo Stanton. Probably not. I don't know. But the Dodgers, that they have the prospects, and if they wanted to, they could probably get a deal done. So again, though, I'm gonna just say again, most likely this is not going to happen. This was not going to be a trade that will happen. I think maybe his name could come up in rumors, but for the most part, I think that's going to be pretty much it. But you never know. Who thought he was going to get traded a couple years ago? So maybe the Yankees. The Yankees, they're coming off of a season where, again, it was a disappointing season for the Yankees. Maybe they want to, do something new. They want to take a different approach. Maybe they want to try and get some new players in there that will fit more of their weaknesses that they need to address, like some defensive spots. Maybe add some more pitching, and maybe they can get another starting pitcher for him. I don't know. But again, least likely, probably not going to happen. So let me know what you think in the chat. Do you think there is any chance at all that Giancarlo Stanton gets traded? Give me a thumbs up if you think there's any chance at all for Giancarlo Stanton to get traded, or give me a thumbs down if you don't think he is going to be traded. Nasty Dave Sports thinks there is a possibility. I'm curious to see if there's any Yankee fans here in the chat that think maybe you could see a Giancarlo Stanton trade. Tell me what you think. I'm seeing a few more people in here. Jordan Jones disagrees. Probably not going to happen. Damian Ramirez, we need to throw away Lester. It depends. Well, Lester right now is a free agent, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they will want to bring him back. Drew, I'm not going to do that as of right now because I don't want this video to go on too long. I kind of want to make it a bit short and sweet tonight, just so other people looking at it in the future, they don't just see like this long drawn out video. So I'm not going to go on there, but I will suggest to everyone, go to baseballtradevalues.com. That's a really fun website to go test out some different trades. It has values for each player. It is a really fun website. If you're just sitting around bored and you want to just try, it's a trade simulator. So if you want to go test out some different trades, it has all the major league players. It has pretty much all of the minor league players as well. So it's a really fun website. So, but rookie card guy, that could be an interesting trade. Maybe Giancarlo Stanton to the Giants for Yastrzemski and some prospects. That'd be interesting. But who knows what will end up happening. Coming in at number 9, I have Kris Bryant. Now, Kris Bryant, this is another interesting one with Kris Bryant. He's going to be a free agent here coming up in a couple of years. He had a pretty down year this past season. So you're maybe thinking here, maybe the Cubs want to try and unload him. Maybe they want to try and get something back for him. His value is a bit down at the moment. He was having some injuries this past season. He had a down season overall. Most likely, kind of like Stan, I don't think you're going to see a Kris Bryant trade, but it's possible. I think his name could come up if the right deal comes along. But there are some teams that could use some third base production. So if I were to go on to Fangraphs, take a look at some teams that could use some production at third base. There are many teams here that really could use a third baseman. If we take a look here, taking a look at offense, again, Kris Bryant, he's a pretty solid offensive player. So if he's healthy, he can definitely provide for a lineup. So most likely, the Brewers were the worst team at third base last year, but they're not going to get Kris Bryant. They're in the division. I don't think the Rangers would go after him. Maybe a team like the Diamondbacks maybe want to, maybe explore some kind of a trade. Maybe the Braves. That would be interesting. Maybe the Braves really want to kind of step up at third. Maybe a team like the Blue Jays, they really want to start diving in, being more of a contender in the American League. Maybe a team like the Nationals or the Twins, that could be interesting. Maybe the Astros, that could be interesting as well. There's a lot of possibilities. You're not going to see a team like the Cardinals go after him. Again, that's in division. Maybe a team like the Mets maybe would want to see if there is a trade there for a Kris Bryant. Maybe not. I don't know if they're going to have the prospects to be able to do it. But that would be really interesting. So Kris Bryant, I think, could be an interesting name out there this offseason. But tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think there is a possibility of Kris Bryant being traded this offseason? Tell me what you think in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Oh, yeah. The Astros with Alex Bregman. I take that back. Never mind. I don't know why. I was going blank on Alex Bregman there. My apologies. Yeah, definitely not the Astros. What the heck am I talking about? But yeah, definitely all the other teams that I mentioned, they could be maybe good spots for Kris Bryant. So we could definitely see, according to a few people here, maybe we could see a Kris Bryant trade. Drew Venny, Kris Bryant to the Braves. That could be really interesting. So, but moving on, number 8, Nolan Arenado. A lot of third basemen are going to appear on this list because there's a lot of third basemen that could be available this offseason, and there's a lot of teams that could use a third baseman, and Nolan Arenado is an interesting name to keep an eye out for. Why? Because last offseason, there were rumors of Nolan Arenado maybe going to the Cardinals at one point. There were talks about maybe going to the Mets at one point. Maybe those teams could look at a guy like Nolan Arenado again. If I were to go back to the stats for teams, their production at third base, let me share my screen. So, again, in this case, the Cardinals, they probably weren't going to go after a guy like Kris Bryant because they're in the division. They're not going to trade a guy like Kris Bryant. But maybe the Cardinals can explore this trade again. Again, like these teams I mentioned earlier, you got teams like the Braves, like the Blue Jays, like the Nationals, maybe the Twins. There's a lot of possibilities out there. I think with the Rockies, and again, also, I forgot to mention, Nolan Arenado is coming off of a down season. He was having some injuries here and there, so not his best season overall for the Rockies. It was a pretty down season for him. If we actually go take a look at how he did, Nolan Arenado, a pretty down season overall, hitting .253, only had a .303 on base. He did have 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, but again, he did miss some games. He was having some injuries here and there. And there's also, he has an opt-out after this season that could make it really tricky for him to get traded. So I think if a team were to trade for him, they're going to want him to commit to some kind of to not opting out of that contract. So maybe they could buy out that opt-out. I don't know how that works exactly, but I don't think a team would bring him in unless he agrees to not opt out. So that would be tricky as well. So tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think there is any chance at all of Nolan Arenado getting traded this offseason? Give me a thumbs up if you think so. Give me a thumbs down if you don't think there is any chance whatsoever. Do you think Nolan Arenado is going to stay on the Rockies? I'm seeing a no. I'm seeing a thumbs down. Jordan Jones, Rockies should go to a rebuild. This core won't make it. And that's also another thing, too, is the Rockies, I mean, with Nolan Arenado, they haven't really been able to do much at all. I mean, I'm not saying that's Nolan Arenado's fault, but maybe they want to try and get some prospects back for him. So that's a name, again, because of that opt-out. You know, he also has a big contract, too. Who knows what would end up happening, but we'll have to wait and see. So, Drew, you know, that's an interesting one as well. Trevor Story. Maybe you could see a Trevor Story get traded. One of those two. That could be very interesting as well. It depends on where the Rockies want to go. I would say with Story, he's one of the best overall shortstops in the game, and so is Nolan Arenado, obviously. But I feel like I don't know, like Trevor Story is just so good on defense. He's such a good offensive player as well. Makes me wonder, I wonder if the Rockies want to hang on to him instead. It's kind of hard to find a shortstop like that, you know? Whereas third baseman, you know, I feel like a lot more times than none, you tend to find just a good quality third baseman more often than a shortstop. So who knows what the Rockies want to end up doing with that. And maybe Trevor Story could end up being cheaper than Arenado. I don't know. But there's a lot of different ways the Rockies could go this offseason. But I think there is a chance you're going to see some Nolan Arenado rumors pop up. So moving on. I believe that was number 8. Number 7. Nathan Eovaldi. So getting to my Red Sox here, we got the Red Sox who are coming off of a terrible season. Nathan Eovaldi's name was popping up last offseason. Nathan Eovaldi ended up being the ace of the Red Sox this year, and that's not very good because Nathan Eovaldi is probably a 3 or 4 at best. So Nathan Eovaldi, he's actually coming off of a pretty decent season. If I were to go pull up the stats on Nathan Eovaldi, he did suffer a bit of a calf injury at one point that ended up kind of derailing him for a couple of starts. But let me share the stats here with you all. But Nathan Eovaldi, he had 9 starts this year. He went 4-2, a 3.72 ERA. He actually had the one of his best I believe this was his best strikeout rate of his career, almost 10 strikeouts per 9, which is crazy to think about because this is a guy that throws 100 miles an hour. How the heck is this guy not striking out more batters? But he was able to figure something out with the strikeouts this year. Again, about 10 strikeouts per 9. So Nathan Eovaldi had himself a really good year, a 3.87 FIP. Now, the question with the question really with the Red Sox here is, why would they want to trade a guy like Nathan Eovaldi? Don't they need pitching? That's what you might be thinking to yourselves. Why would the Red Sox want to trade away pitching when they need pitching? Well, the question is, it really comes down to if Chaim Bloom sees an offer out there, for a team that maybe needs pitching, like the Braves, maybe the Angels, maybe the Mets, maybe the Nationals, teams like those, maybe they'd be willing to really give up some prospects for him. And I think if Chaim Bloom, if he sees a deal out there that might be worth sacrificing an Eovaldi to better the future of the team, better the future of the franchise, I think maybe you could see a Nathan Eovaldi trade. Again, I'm going to kind of lean towards it not happening, but I would not be surprised to see Nathan Eovaldi rumors out there this offseason. I think maybe some teams are going to kick the tires on him. Now, the question is, does Chaim Bloom think that he's going to be able to get some good pieces back for him? Because if you really think about it, Nathan Eovaldi, I think he's making around, I believe, like 18 million, 17 million a year. I think that's what his contract is. If I were to go look up his contract real quick. Where do I find contract stuff? I can't find it on here. All right, forget that. So I think he's making around 17, 18 million dollars a year, which is actually, when you think about it for a pitcher, that's not bad. And Nathan Eovaldi, he's a guy that's going to be a solid 3 or a 4 in the rotation. Now, another question to think about too, is his health. He seems to be up and down with his health all the time. He had the amazing 2018 postseason where he was just a legend that postseason. So I love Nathan Eovaldi, but if I feel like personally, as a Red Sox fan, if you can get a good package back for him from a team that's desperate for pitching, like again, maybe like the Angels who really could use some pitching, the Braves, they could use some pitching. Look at the postseason this past year. The Braves were a team that maybe they were a starting pitcher away from getting to the World Series. So Nathan Eovaldi would really solve a lot of problems for a couple of teams if he can stay healthy. So I think it comes down to, is Chaim Bloom going to be able to get a good enough package back for him? To me, if he doesn't get a package that he thinks is worth it, I think he would be perfectly okay hanging on to a Nathan Eovaldi. So tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think Nathan Eovaldi ends up staying with the Red Sox, or do you think there's a good chance he could end up being traded? Another possibility for Eovaldi, I kind of thought about it. He's a guy that's from Texas. He's a Texan guy. So maybe the Astros could be a team. Maybe they want to beef up the starting pitching. Verlander, who knows if he's going to come back next year. Zach Greinke's not getting any younger. Maybe the Astros would want to kick the tires on Eovaldi. But Toby YT, you think he's staying. Nasty Dave Sports, you think a thumbs down. Definitely. Maybe the Cardinals, too. Maybe the Cardinals would be interested in a guy like Nathan Eovaldi. Sports with AJ, like I said, I think the Astros could end up being a pretty decent fit. They could use some pitching. Maybe the Rangers, too. I don't know. But I don't know if the Rangers are going to have the prospects. But BC Baseball with the fiery thumbs up. So, Nicholas, if Sale, Rodriguez, and Eovaldi stay loyal, we could make the playoffs. Honestly, if they're all healthy, if they can come back next year, or Sale, if he can come back by August, September next year, the Red Sox could have themselves a pretty decent rotation heading into the last part of that month. And if they're going after a wild card spot, who knows? That pitching could be really good in that last month. If they're within striking distance, and you got these three guys, and then you got also if Tanner Houck ends up having a pretty good year, if he ends up kind of turning into something really good, maybe Nick Pivetta ends up doing decent. If the Red Sox can grab a starting pitcher this offseason free agency, maybe if they brought in a guy like Corey Kluber, where if they could bring him in for cheap, who's a guy who's trying to rebuild his value, maybe they hit lightning in a bottle with a guy like Corey Kluber, or maybe a John Lester, maybe. I don't know. I think Lester could end up going back to the Cubs, but if the Red Sox could strike lightning in a bottle with a guy on the free agent market, the Red Sox could be, I'm not trying to be biased like a Mr. Giraffe Neck Mark over here, but I'm just saying, if the Red Sox, if they end up getting Sale back at some point next year, they could end up having a pretty good rotation. So Nathan Eovaldi will be interesting to look at. It really kind of depends on what Chaim Bloom's gonna be offered for him. So moving on, number 6. Nathan Eovaldi's teammate, JD Martinez. And I promise this is the last Red Sox player on this list. I'm not trying to be full of Red Sox bias here, but I'm just saying a guy like JD Martinez could maybe be had this offseason. There were some rumors on him maybe being traded at this past deadline. So JD Martinez, he didn't have a JD Martinez kind of a season. He was a bit down this past season, but he has had a track record of having a very good bat. And there are many teams that could use some offense. If we were to go take a look at the stats for teams with offense, here we go. So again, teams that could use some offense. I'm not sure if he's going to be making around 19 million, I believe, or around 20 million. So that's a quite a bit of money. Maybe the Cubs would want to bring in a JD Martinez. He's basically like a better Nick Castellanos, in my opinion. Maybe the Cubs would want to bring in another bat to try and help juice up that lineup a little bit. Maybe the Cardinals, I think he would be a good fit with the Cardinals. He would have to play some outfield. He hasn't really played much outfield in the last couple of years. He's been more of a DH. But maybe the Cubs or the Cardinals would want to take a look at him. Maybe a team like the Twins. I think the Twins could end up being a good fit. Maybe if they don't end up getting Nelson Cruz to come back, maybe they could bring in a JD Martinez. So something like that. Maybe the Nationals. Maybe they could have him run around in right field or left field. So there are some teams that could use some production offensively, and JD Martinez has proven to have a really good bat. If we were to go take a look at JD Martinez real quick, I'll pull up the stats. Here we go. If we take a look So last year, again, it was a pretty down year. I mean, honestly, I'm not even going to count last year. It was just overall a terrible year for the Red Sox. Honestly, this to me is just such a throwaway kind of a year. He only hit 213. He had 7 home runs. I think there were some problems going on mechanically in his swing at one point, but he was pretty much terrible last year. But if I were to take a look at the stats from 2017 to 2019, this is a guy who averaged 41 home runs over those 3 years. He averaged where's batting average? Where is it? Where's batting average? He was averaging a 313 batting average. I mean, come on. He had an OPS of above 1,000. I mean, JD Martinez is definitely a bat that a lot of teams would be interested in. He's a veteran guy. I mean, there is a lot to like about having JD Martinez in your lineup, but maybe the Red Sox want to create some more flexibility in that lineup. Maybe they want to get Rafael Devers more at-bats at DH. You got guys all over there that are going to have trouble finding at-bats. Michael Chavis was having trouble finding at-bats last year. Bobby Dahlbeck came up at one point last year, and he ended up doing really good. However, but with Bobby Dahlbeck, he's blocked by Devers. So, they're going to be having Tristan Casas come up in a couple of years. If he keeps progressing, he was doing really good over at the Red Sox minor league camp over the summer. He was hitting bombs all summer. So Tristan Casas, I mean, that's a guy that could end up coming up soon and playing first for the Red Sox or DHing. So maybe the Red Sox want to create some flexibility in that lineup, and they want to kind of get rid of JD Martinez. And I think maybe you could see maybe a deal come together. More likely, I'd probably say he ends up staying just because that contract is a bit iffy. And at the end of the day, he's more of an offensive player than he is a defensive player. So tell me what you think down below in the chat. Do you think JD Martinez is going to end up getting traded, or do you think there's a good chance he ends up staying? Give me a thumbs up if you think he's going to be traded, or give me a thumbs down if you think he's going to stay. I'm very curious to see what you all think. Toby YT thinks he is going to stay. Luke Merker definitely thinks he's going to stay. Michael Schimpf thinks he's going to get traded. BZ Baseball doesn't really know. Could be interesting. Jordan Jones is suggesting maybe Seattle. That could be maybe if they want to add in a veteran guy to that rebuilding franchise, maybe that could be something that could help accelerate the process a little bit. But I'm seeing more thumbs down than up. So have to keep an eye on JD Martinez this off season. So I am halfway through the list. I'll take a pause right there. If you are just coming into the chat, I am seeing 63 people in here so far. That is so far a high for tonight. If you are just coming in and you are new to this channel, think about hitting that subscribe button. We're talking baseball all the time here. Any baseball news that you need, come here. I'm going to be talking baseball all the time this offseason. Also, everyone, before I move on, if you can, hit that thumbs up. It's going to get it out to more baseball fans. YouTube works weird like that. More thumbs up means more people will see this stream out when they're looking for baseball stuff. So, but here we go. Getting into the top 5. Next up at number 5, Josh Hader. This is a guy that seems to be on the trade market all the time. You always hear about this guy popping up in trade rumors. Josh Hader could go here. He could go there. He could maybe go to the Yankees. He could maybe go to the Phillies. He could maybe go to the Mets. He could maybe go to, the Blue Jays, wherever. It seems like Josh Hader's name is always coming up in trade rumors all the time. It seemed like that the last 2 or 3 years. And honestly, I mean, if there is a good time to trade Josh Hader, now is the time, because the Brewers just recently had a Rookie of the Year named in Devin Williams, who ended up being shut down out of that Brewers bullpen as one of the key setup men for the Brewers. If we were to go take a look at Josh Hader, let me pull up the stats real quick with Josh Hader. Let me share my screen. Here we go. All right, so Josh Hader had himself a okay season last year. 3.79 ERA, 31 strikeouts over 19 innings. This guy is still going to strike out a lot of guys. If we take a look, though, his numbers have been digressing since his rookie season in 2017. Started off at a 2.08 ERA that year, 2.43, 2.62, 3.79. The FIP is also consistently climbing, 2.23, 3.10, 4.03. This is a guy where, you know, these numbers, he seems to be giving up more runs as each year goes by. However, if you take a look at the strikeout numbers, 15.8 strikeouts per 9, 16.4, 14.7. He is still striking out a lot of guys. So Josh Hader, I think with teams that could use a shutdown strikeout guy out of the bullpen, I think Josh Hader fits the bill for a lot of teams. If I actually go here, I'm going to pull up right now. I'm going to pull up some teams that really could use some lefties. Here we go. Let's go to the splits leaderboard. Fangraphs is a great website to go look up splits. It takes a little bit to kind of figure out. You got to play with it a little bit. But let me take a look. I want pitching. Left-handed pitching. All right, so let's take a look here. I want it also by team. So teams that did not do very well with their left-handers last year. So Houston actually had the best left-handers overall. They had a 3.48 FIP. But if you go down to the bottom here, the Diamondbacks, when it came to left-handed pitchers, they were statistically the worst last year. They ranked dead last in with FIP with a 5.79. You had the Marlins, the Rangers, the Giants, the Pirates, the Red Sox, Rockies, Twins. So you could maybe see maybe some of these teams looking to acquire a guy like Josh Hader. Maybe Josh Hader would be a great fit with the Twins. I think this could be a great fit for him if the Brewers decide that they want to move on from a Josh Hader. I mean, honestly, like I said, this is a great time to try and trade Josh Hader. Why? Because they got a guy like Devin Williams who just won Rookie of the Year. The guy was insane. He was lights out. And Josh Hader, to me, I still think he has a lot of value. And I think maybe if you're the Brewers, you want to try and cash in. The Brewers don't really have a great farm system. Actually, let me take a look. I wrote down earlier where the Brewers rank. They have the 29th ranked farm system. The Brewers have one of the worst farm systems in the game. So I think, honestly, if you're the Brewers, you maybe want to look into trading a guy like Josh Hader, try and get some prospects back, try and, help yourselves out for the future a little bit. So I think if there's as good a time as any, this is the time to get rid of a Josh Hader. Maybe the Diamondbacks, where I thought the Diamondbacks last year were going to be a pretty good team, and they ended up being garbage last year. Maybe the Diamondbacks want to go after a guy like Josh Hader. I think that could be a good fit. Maybe a team like the Giants, who were pretty surprising last year, maybe they want to go after a Josh Hader. A team like the Twins, I think that could be a really good fit. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. The Mets are kind of in the middle of the road. Maybe, hey, they got a new owner. Maybe they want some new life in Queens. Maybe they want to go after a guy like Josh Hader. Maybe the Dodgers are feeling spicy. They want to add to that bullpen even more. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways. Maybe the Rays, maybe they want to go after a guy like Josh Hader. I don't know. The Rays have prospects. They could send it back. They could send him back. They're already a great bullpen as it is for the Rays. Maybe they want to add another guy in Josh Hader, and he's still under control. So he kind of fits the bill money-wise. They have prospects to get him. So that could be a possibility. Could you imagine a Josh Hader on the Rays? That bullpen was already so good, and Josh Hader in Tampa Bay. That could be insane. I don't think the Yankees would go after a guy like Josh Hader. I think they have the pieces to get it done. I wonder if they want to go after a guy like him. They already have Aroldis Chapman. Personally, I think the Yankees are better off maybe going after a righty power arm. There's a lot of different possibilities out there, but I'd wonder if, because they have a guy like Chapman already, do they want to go after a guy like Josh Hader? I don't know. But there's a lot of different possibilities here for Josh Hader. To me, honestly, I think a really cool fit would be Tampa Bay. They have prospects. I mean, they already have a dominant bullpen as it is. Add a guy like Josh Hader, holy cow, that would be freaking nuts. So tell me what you think in the chat. I think I was seeing a lot of thumbs up earlier. Tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think Josh Hader is finally going to be traded somewhere, anywhere? If there's a time, I think now is the time. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Do you think Josh Hader is going to get traded, or do you think the Brewers are just going to hang on to him? Maybe the Brewers feel like they're ready to maybe contend, go for a World Series championship. What do you think? Justin King, maybe the White Sox. The White Sox love guys that can throw hard, but they do have a Garrett Crochet now. I wonder if they want to add another lefty power arm. They have a Crochet who can throw 100 miles an hour. Crochet could end up being the next Josh Hader, honestly. So, Luke, also, maybe the Phillies. The Phillies need bullpen help. So, yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, so I'm seeing more thumbs up than thumbs down. I'm seeing a couple of thumbs downs. But, Nick, yeah, maybe the Mets. That could be interesting. But alrighty, but here we go. Getting into number 4, Johnny Cueto. This could be a guy that I think could see his name out there on the trade market. Not the best year from Johnny Cueto. If I were to actually pull up the stats real quick here. Here we go. Johnny Cueto, where are you? All right, I'm going to share my screen. All right, here we go. So Johnny Cueto, I think there's a lot of intrigue with him. He did just come off Tommy John not too long ago, but he proved to be healthy last year. He made all of his starts. Not the greatest year, a 5.40 ERA. The FIP was better at a 4.64. Still not all that great. He was about 8 strikeouts per 9. I don't know, but maybe this is a guy where I think the Giants, maybe they need to start trying to bring in some prospects. I think it might be kind of difficult to trade a Johnny Cueto just because of that contract, but maybe the Giants would be willing to maybe offer up a prospect to get rid of him. Maybe they can try and get some pieces back for him. I don't know, but I think there's some teams that maybe could use a veteran arm. If I were to kind of go take a look real quick at pitching from teams last year. Can we please load? Holy crap. Hurry up. Here we go. Taking a look. Actually, you know what? Let me go here. Let me go to the splits leaderboard. I'll go back here. I'll take a look at teams that maybe could use some right-handed pitching. So here we go. Pitching. I want splits. I want righties. Here we go. Team. And here we go. Update. All right, so teams last year that really lacked in right-handed starting pitching. So look at the Brewers last year, had some of the best right-handed starting pitching. Actually, let me. All right, I didn't put starting pitcher. There we go. So, but yeah, the Brewers, they were up there. Cleveland had overall the best starting pitching from right-handers last year. But if I were to go to the bottom, look at Seattle. 5.73 ERA. I don't know if they're going to go after a guy like Cueto. He doesn't really fit. I don't know. Maybe the Tigers, they want to kind of spice things up a little bit. Maybe they want to bring in a guy like Cueto, a veteran guy. Maybe he can help out with the younger guys as well. I don't know. Maybe the Blue Jays want to take a chance on a guy like Johnny Cueto. I think I could see Johnny Cueto in a Blue Jays uniform. Why not? Maybe a team like Oakland, if the Giants can eat a lot of that contract. Maybe Oakland wants to bring in a starting pitcher. I don't know. Maybe the Nationals need to bring in someone. There's a lot of possibilities here. Maybe the Angels, they're desperate. They need starting pitching. Maybe they want to bring in a Johnny Cueto. He's already out there in San Francisco. It's not too far of a drive from there. I don't know. Maybe the Braves. The Braves could use some more depth. There's a lot of possibilities, but I think Cueto, that's a guy where you could see his name really get floated out there a bit. I think the Giants, honestly, whoops, I just clicked the wrong thing. But the Giants, I think they would be behooved to move a guy like Johnny Cueto. There's not really a reason to keep him, in my opinion. I don't think the Giants are close to competing. I think they're in kind of like this reshuffle mode. I'm not really sure what they're doing. They don't really have one of the best farm systems. They got some good pieces there. They got some good younger guys coming up. They got Joey Bart, who just came up. So I don't know. Maybe they want to get rid of him and try and get some more prospects in. I think their farm system ranks like 13th or 12th or something like that. They're not like terrible. They're kind of right in the middle. So tell me what you think. What do you think of maybe Johnny Cueto being traded this off season? What do you think? Thumbs up if you think Johnny Cueto is going to get traded. And, oh, yes, also, he is a free agent after this year. So it's just that salary for this year. I don't know if teams are going to want to take on that salary. But, yeah, tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think Johnny Cueto is going to end up being traded? Jordan Jones, do you think he's going to end up staying in San Francisco? Yeah, Jonathan Romero, maybe the Twins. I don't know. Cole Holdorf, thumbs up. BZ Baseball, thumbs up. Hey, maybe the Phillies too. That's a possibility, BZ Baseball. Nicholas, you're 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down, 1 thumbs up. Justin King thinks he's going to stay. Isaiah Bostic. Oh, I don't know. As a Red Sox fan, I don't know if I want Cueto. I don't know if you're the Nationals. I don't really see, maybe, I don't, actually, now that I think about it, I don't really see a point for the Nationals to go after him. They're in a weird spot, the Nationals. I think they need to get prospects. But I could maybe see a team that has prospects to give. Maybe they could go after him. I don't know. But here we go. Moving on. We're getting into the top 3. Now, no, I did not want to click that one. Here we go. I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I have 2 people here. Don't yell at me. I know. This is top 10, so whatever. Here we go. But I was going to do Miguel Andujar only in this spot. But you know what? I think Gary Sanchez, I think he is a name that you're going to see a lot of this offseason. So you know what? I put them together. So go ahead. Yell at me if you want. But Miguel Andujar and Gary Sanchez, I think these two... I think you could end up seeing these two in a package. I think you could see these two go together somewhere. I think Miguel Andujar, he needs to move on from New York. I don't think there's a spot for him. You got Gio Urshela, who took over third base. Miguel Andujar was a guy back in his rookie season. Let me actually pull up his stats. He did very well a couple of years ago before he went down with an injury. Here we go, sharing my screen. But Miguel Andujar... If we go take a look at his 2018 season where he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting, this guy was really good. 297 average, 27 homers, 92 RBIs. I mean, come on, this guy had an 855 OPS. He was really good, but then he went down with an injury in 2019. Gio Urshela basically took over and never looked back, and now there's really no spot for Miguel Andujar. So... I mean, they've tried playing him in the outfield. That hasn't really worked out. I believe there was like one game where he had a horrible error where the ball like completely got by him and rolled to the fence. But Miguel Andujar, that's not working in the outfield for him. So you got to think the Yankees, they got to move on from him. He's still very young, and I still think he has a lot of value. How old is he? He's only 25 years old. So I think the Yankees, unless they got some kind of an idea of where to play him, I think you got to think he's going to move on. You know, they got to move on from him. I still think he's a young player, and obviously he's a young player, but because he's a young player, I think he has a lot of value, and I think you can get something for him. But then moving on to a guy now like Gary Sanchez. So Gary Sanchez. I mean, I have made my thoughts well known about Gary Sanchez. I think he is a garbage catcher. I hate when people try to defend Gary Sanchez as a catcher. He stinks as a catcher, but this guy has a bat. I mean, taking a look, 2016, 20 homers, 33 homers in 2017. He had 18 in 2018. He had 34 in 2019. He had 10 last year. This is a guy that kind of goes on streaks. He's a streaky hitter, but my goodness, when this guy is on, he can tear it up. Gary Sanchez is a guy where I think, honestly, if you just had him DH, I think he would be a really good DH, honestly. Maybe you could have him play some catcher here and there. Maybe he could be more of a DH strictly and like a backup catcher. Oh, we got something going on. What is happening? Tafu Olatunji has just subscribed. Welcome, my friend, to the channel. We are approaching 3,400 subscribers. I can't believe I'm even saying 3,400. I didn't even think we were going to even get to 100 by this point. So, wow, we're up to 100 people in the chat. Wow. Hey, everyone, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to talk some baseball on Friday the 13th. So, but yeah, anyway, back to the trade possibilities. Gary Sanchez, Miguel Andujar. I think these are two guys that you could definitely see get packaged together. Maybe the Yankees could put together a package of like a Gary Sanchez, a Miguel Andujar, and Estevan Florial. Maybe they want to throw in a guy like Clark Schmidt or like a Jordan Montgomery. Maybe you could get something for these guys. I don't know, but I really think you could see these two. If you were to trade any two guys from the Yankees, I think these two are it. Gary Sanchez, Miguel Andujar. I definitely think these two are huge possibilities to get traded this offseason. So tell me what you think. Miguel Andujar, Gary Sanchez, do you think they're going to end up staying in New York, or do you think they're going to be on the move? Give me a thumbs up if you think they're going to be on the move. Give me a thumbs up if you think they are going to end up staying in the Bronx. Tell me what you think. Justin King thinks they are both gone. Lori English, thinks they are both gone. Cole Holdorf thinks they are gone. So Christian, yes, that could be a package for maybe Josh Hader. Those are some young guys that maybe the Brewers would be enticed to bring in. Jacob, you think they are both gone? So yeah, I would say the majority most likely think that they're both going to be on the move. You never know. The Yankees seem to they just seem to love Gary Sanchez. I don't know what it is. My best friend, he's a Yankee fan. He was telling me that he suggested to John Boy on Twitter a couple of years ago to trade Gary Sanchez because his value was so high. And John Boy basically said, like, are you crazy? What is wrong with you? Oh, we got someone subscribing. Polar Pop. What's going on, my friend? Welcome to the channel. But he suggested to John Boy and another Yankee fan, I forget his name, another one of those Yankee Twitter people, and he said, you know what, I think Gary Sanchez could be a good guy to trade. You can get a lot back for him. And they told him, what are you, nuts? Gary Sanchez is a god, man. He's amazing. You don't get rid of Gary Sanchez. What are you talking about? Gary Sanchez stinks as a catcher. I don't care what you say. You can't tell me any different. The guy's stats are horrible when it comes to being a catcher. The guy can absolutely hit the ball a mile, but he's a streaky hitter. So I don't know. And the catching just hasn't really seemed to improve overall that much. The framing, the blocked balls, the pass balls. I mean, he's a block behind there. I think a toaster would be better behind the plate than him. He can throw some guys out, but I don't know. Overall, Gary Sanchez, I just don't think is a great catcher, and I think he would be a better fit as a DH, maybe a first baseman. I just don't think he fits in New York. I think he needs a fresh start. I think Miguel Andujar needs a fresh start. So that's what I think personally. So not hating on Gary Sanchez, the guy can hit a ball to Mars, and Miguel Andujar, I think there's a lot of potential with him. I mean, like, he just finished second in Rookie of the Year voting 2 years ago. But here we go. I accidentally hit his picture just a few moments ago by accident, so some of you may already know who number 2 is. What is going on? Turner Uber Ales has just subscribed. I could have sworn you have subscribed before, my friend, but welcome back. What's going on? But here we go. Some of you saw me click this picture by accident earlier, but here we go. At number 2, we got Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn, I thought, was going to be traded at the trade deadline this past year. John Daniels, what the heck are you doing, dude? You could have gotten something for Lance Lynn. Don't tell me that Lance Lynn wasn't going to get you a decent package of prospects. Don't tell me that. Don't even tell me. John Daniels, what are you doing? But here's your chance, John Daniels. Lance Lynn, it's the offseason. The Rangers, you stink. You're not going to do anything this year. Stop it. Get rid of Lance Lynn. Get some prospects back. You have no farm system. Get something for Lance Lynn. There's no reason to keep Lance Lynn. I don't know why you didn't even trade Lance Lynn. That blows my mind that you couldn't have traded him to the Braves, to the Yankees, the Twins. You couldn't have traded Lance Lynn anywhere. And I don't know, John Daniels. I don't know what the heck happened this past trade deadline. But here's your chance again, Mr. John Daniels. So anyway, but let's take a look at the stats. Let's take a look. Here we go. Lance Lynn. Whoops, I just typed in Ants Lynn. Whoops. Lance Lynn. Here we go. But Lance Lynn, he was really good this year. He was very good last year, too. He finished 5th in the Cy Young voting. He finished 6th in the Cy Young voting this past year. The FIP did go up a little bit. But, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, come on. This guy was he was really good all the way up to the trade deadline. He didn't get traded, and then he kind of started to have a couple of bad starts after that. To me, honestly, if I was sitting there on a crappy team like the Rangers that wasn't even doing anything, I'd be probably ticked off, too. I wasn't playing for a contending team. He probably just mailed it in for the rest of the season. He had a couple of bad starts. His FIP went up a bit. His ERA was better than last year. But, overall, strikeouts per 9 were still pretty good. 9.5 strikeouts per 9. He led the major leagues in innings pitched. it still blows my mind that John Daniels didn't trade Lance Lynn at the trade deadline. I couldn't believe that. But I think this is a great time to try and get something for him. Maybe, if anything, you wait until the trade deadline this year. But, I mean, dude, oh, my God, this guy's value is really high right now. What if he gets hurt? What if something happens to him? I don't know. What if he just starts having bad start, and his value goes down? I think you got to trade Lance Lynn now. John Daniels, if you are for some reason one of these 101 people in the chat, trade Lance Lynn. Get something for him. There are teams that need pitching. Let's go to the starting pitchers or the starting pitching stats. What are we doing here? Here we go. Starters. What were the teams that needed starting pitching? If I were to look, here we go. Well, the Red Sox, I don't think they really need Lance Lynn. I mean, well, they need pitching, but I don't think Lance Lynn's really the guy. I think Lance Lynn is going to be better off going to a contender. Maybe the Diamondbacks maybe want to take a chance on him. They stunk last year. They were supposed to be good last year, and they ended up stinking up the joint. Maybe the Diamondbacks want to go after him. He stays out west. He just goes to the National League. The Braves, I thought he would have been a good fit on the Braves this year. Could you imagine the Braves? If they had Lance Lynn in the postseason, you could have maybe seen the Braves maybe make it to the World Series this year. So maybe the Braves go after a guy like Lance Lynn. Maybe the Nationals, they see something. They were horrible at starting pitching. Oh, we got someone else subscribing. What is going on? Terrell Fraser, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but what's up, dude? You just subscribed. Welcome to the channel. Hello. Maybe the Blue Jays could use a guy like Lance Lynn. I think Lance Lynn would be a great fit with the Blue Jays. You got Hyun-Jin Ryu, Lance Lynn, you got Nate Pearson. You got some talent there. That could be a pretty decent three. Maybe the Angels. Maybe they'll do an in-division trade. I don't know. Maybe the Cardinals. Maybe he'll go back to St. Louis. I don't know. But I think there's teams out there. Maybe the White Sox. They need pitching depth. Lance Lynn would be a great fit. I don't know. There's a lot of teams. Maybe the Yankees want to bring him back. I don't know. But the Cubs, they're going to need some starting pitching. Maybe they want to bring in Lance Lynn. Either way, John Daniels, trade Lance Lynn. What are you doing? Stop hanging on to him. There's no reason to hang on to him. I don't see why you're hanging on to him. So tell me what you think in the chat down below. Give me a thumbs up if you think Lance Lynn is going to be traded, or give me a thumbs down if you think John Daniels is going to be a complete buffoon and hang on to Lance Lynn. Tell me what you think in the chat down below. Tell me what you think. So yeah, Jonathan Romero, I agree. Angels, Twins, Braves, all good fits. All good fits. Jordan Jones thinks he's going to be on the move. Matthew Kapala, how in the world? Papyritis. I'm going to say papyritis. I just pronounced that really wrong. I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. Vehicle Ranks is here. What is going on, my friend? How are you doing? He's going with the thumbs down. Lewis Foster thinks there's going to be a trade. I think he would be a great fit with the Angels. I don't know. Again, I don't know if they're going to do an in-division trade. That's a little iffy. That's always a little iffy. But if they can get some good prospects back for him, why not? Go for it. JH Sports, what's going on, my friend? Welcome. But alrighty, here we go. Who is ready for number one? There's not much surprise here. Francisco Lindor. I think we all saw this coming. He was in the thumbnail, and I hadn't even talked about Francisco Lindor up to this point. So obviously, he was going to be number one. Francisco Lindor. Come on. This guy has been in trade rumors now, just like Josh Hader, it feels like, for the past couple of years. He's becoming a free agent after 2021. Very similar to Mookie Betts in that situation last offseason, where Francisco Lindor, one of the best overall players in the game, one of the best shortstops in the game. This is a guy that is going to make a lot of teams better. There are so many teams that he could go to. I mean, come on, take your pick here. The Yankees, the Mets, maybe the Dodgers want to get spicy and bring him in. I don't know. They got Corey Seager, but I don't know. Maybe they want to fit him in maybe at second base. There's a lot of teams that could use Francisco Lindor, and even if they don't really have a need at shortstop exactly, maybe they could bring him in to play some second base. I think there are some intriguing teams out there, but let's go take a look. Let's pull up the stats from Lindor. Lindor did not have one of the best seasons last year. It took him a little bit to get going, but let's share my screen. Here we go. Francisco Lindor. Overall, he only hit 258 on the year. He had 8 home runs. I mean, he only had a 750 OPS. It wasn't a great year for Francisco Lindor, but Francisco Lindor has a track record. If we take a look at the average stats from 2017 to 2019, this is a guy that was averaging 34 home runs a year, 85 RBIs, a 278 batting average, and 856 OPS. Very solid offensively. Very solid. And one of the better defensive shortstops in the game. Actually, let me pull up the stats here. Fielding-wise on Fangraphs, I prefer the fielding stats on Fangraphs. But let's take a look. Okay, do I have... Here we go. So, yeah, shortstops last year. Hold on. I want to look at player stats. So, Francisco Lindor, he had the best defensive runs above average last year. While the offense may have been down, he is very solid on the defensive side of the ball. So if we take a look, defensive runs saved, he had a couple of defensive runs saved. He had a very good UZR. I believe that ranked first. So yeah, Francisco Lindor was overall the best shortstop last year when it came to defense. Better than a guy like Trevor Story. I mean, better than a guy like Marcus Semien. Better than a guy like Paul DeJong, who's known for his defense. I mean, even a guy, where's Jose Iglesias? This guy's known for his defense. Oh, we got something going on here. What's going on? Forrest Kelly, what's going on, my friend? Welcome to the channel. But Francisco Lindor, while the bat was down a bit this year, you know you're going to get some great defense either way. Francisco Lindor, I think, is one of the best players in the game. This is just like the Mookie Betts situation last year. And the Indians are I think they're in a good spot to trade him. They're kind of transitioning into a new era of Indians baseball. They've traded away Trevor Bauer. They've traded away Mike Clevinger. Now, if you trade away Francisco Lindor, this team is going to be stacked with younger players. Now let's take a look. What teams could use Francisco Lindor? I think there's a lot of teams. If we were to take a look at offensive stats from shortstop last year, let's see which teams really lacked from the shortstop position. The Dodgers overall had the best from shortstop last year from Corey Seager. Overall, Corey Seager, in my eyes, was the best overall shortstop last year. But if we go take a look at the bottom of this list, right? Let's take a look at numbers 20 through 30. Okay, right there at number 20, the Mets, they have a need. They could maybe bring him in. If we were to take a look right now at the Mets depth chart. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, so at shortstop last year, they did have Andres Gimenez. He did play some pretty solid baseball last year coming up as a rookie. He played some great defense. I'm pretty sure they maybe want to keep him at short. I don't know, or maybe they want to move him over to second. If they were able to get a guy like Francisco Lindor, you could have a pretty good second base shortstop combo up the middle right there. That would be really good. I mean, or unless maybe for some reason maybe the Mets involve Andres Gimenez in a trade. I don't know. That could be a possibility. I mean, who knows? But Francisco Lindor, I think he would be a good fit on the Mets somehow, some way. Maybe the A's want to take a chance on him. I probably not, just because I don't know if they're going to want to pay him long term. I don't know about the Twins. They got Royce Lewis that's coming up. Probably not the Brewers. They're not really going to pay that much money. I think the Cardinals could be a great fit. Well, I mean, maybe Paul DeJong can slide over to second. Probably not the Astros. They got Carlos Correa. But looking at the Yankees are a very interesting possibility. Now, with the Yankees, they have Gleyber Torres, but Gleyber Torres stinks on defense. This guy can't field a ball, whatever. He's definitely way better than me. But that's not saying much. I'm terrible. Gleyber Torres, you're Gleyber Torres. You're one of the best young players in the game, and you're horrible at shortstop. I don't know what's going on, my friend. You can kill a baseball to the moon, but for some reason at shortstop, you're just struggling, my friend. So maybe the Yankees want to bring in a guy like Francisco Lindor, who's going to improve the defense at shortstop where they really lacked last season. I think the Yankees overall last season were dead last from defense on shortstop. So maybe the Yankees will consider bringing in a Francisco Lindor to play short. You can move Gleyber Torres over to second. That would have to mean also DJ LeMahieu probably wouldn't be coming back in that situation. But also, you really think about it too. DJ LeMahieu, he's 32 years old. I mean, yes, he was the batting champion last year, but do you really want to pay DJ LeMahieu a ton of money for the latter part of his career. I don't know if you're the Yankees, is that smart money? I don't know. In the short term, sure, that would be good. But do you want DJ LeMahieu at 35, 36, 37 years old? How is he going to be? Look at Pedroia with the Red Sox. Pedroia, he signed a long-term deal. He was good for a few seasons, and then his knee just exploded. And so Dustin Pedroia, I mean, that's an example right there. I mean, I know Pedroia has a completely different body than DJ LeMahieu. Pedroia is basically a dwarf. I mean, so durability-wise, Pedroia was diving all over the place. And this is a guy that really just long-term didn't have that durability. DJ LeMahieu, I think he's going to be a bit more durable. But do you really want to be paying, a guy getting into the latter half of his career that much money? That makes me, I know a lot of Yankee fans are, shouting from the mountaintops, bring DJ LeMahieu back. But if you're able to get a Francisco Lindor instead, and then you can have Gleyber Torres play second, I think that's a pretty decent idea as well. Maybe a team like the Cubs, maybe Javier Baez is going to be gone soon. Maybe they, figure something out there. I think the Reds would be really interesting. I don't know if they're going to want to pay him all that money, but there's all these other possibilities as well. Maybe the Phillies, they were kind of in the middle at short. If we take a look at who the Phillies had at shortstop last year, they had Gregorius. Are they going to bring Gregorius back? That's an interesting thing to think about. He was pretty good offensively. I'm predicting he's going to end up going back there just because Joe Girardi, he has that connection there. He was there for 1 year. He had a good year. So I think the Phillies maybe bring him back on like a 3-year deal or something like that, but maybe they can see an opportunity for Francisco Lindor. Now the question is, are they going to have the prospects to be able to send back? I don't know. But there's a lot of different ways this could happen. If we're going back to the list here on teams that could use a shortstop, personally, a really fun one for me would be the Rays. I think that would just be really fun. I think he would fit really well into what the Rays do, but they're not going to pay him. But again, maybe a team, I think I wanted to save the best for last. I think the Blue Jays could be an amazing possibility for Francisco Lindor. I know they have Bo Bichette, but maybe you could slide Bo Bichette over to third and you could have Francisco Lindor at short. What a left side of the infield that would be. You would have these two guys that have a combination of power, speed, can hit for average. What a left side of the infield that would be for Toronto. Toronto's trying to make some noise. Maybe they could bring in a Francisco Lindor. That would be nuts. I don't know. The Blue Jays, they got some young talent there that they could send back to the Indians. Either way, I think the Indians are going to have a lot of fun talking to teams because Francisco Lindor is going to be very sought after. There's a lot of different ways this could go. So, last time I am going to ask this in the chat. Do you think Francisco Lindor is going to be traded by the Cleveland Indians? Tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think he is going to be traded? Give me a thumbs up if you think he is on the move. Give me a thumbs down if you think he is going to end up staying in Cleveland. Tell me what you think. Thumbs up if he's gone. Thumbs down if you think he stays. I'm seeing more thumbs up out of anything right now. All thumbs up. We're up to 100 people in the chat. What is going on? Welcome. If you are just coming in, I'm going over my top 10 players that I think could be traded this offseason. I'm seeing all thumbs up. I'd be very surprised if Francisco Lindor ended up staying. I don't see, if you're the Indians, come on. I think you got to move on here, get something for him. He had a pretty down year offensively, but I still think his value is still very high. But everyone, that is all I have for tonight. Those are the 10 guys that I think could end up being traded. I'll recap my list before I get out of here. At number 10, I had Giancarlo Stanton. Probably not going to happen, but I think that's a name you might see get floated out there. At number 9, I had Chris Bryant. Again, kind of probably think he's going to stay, but I think you could see his name out there. Number 8, Nolan Arenado. Same thing. That contract is a little iffy. He has the opt-out for next year. I don't know if a team is going to want to take him on, but it's Nolan Arenado. Maybe a team like the Cardinals would want to revisit trade talks. Maybe the Mets. I don't know. Number 7, I had Nathan Eovaldi. I think the Red Sox will end up wanting to just hang on to him, but I think if Chaim Bloom is given an offer, I think you will see Chaim Bloom pull the trigger on a trade. A guy like JD Martinez, he's kind of creating a bit of a log jam in Boston right now. A team could use a bat. Maybe a team will take a bite on JD Martinez. I think if you're the Red Sox, if you can get some good prospects for him, some good young guys, I think JD Martinez could be a good trade piece. Entering the top 5, we had Josh Hader at number 5. I think this is a great opportunity for the Brewers to cash in on Josh Hader now that they have Devin Williams. At number 4, Johnny Cueto. As a veteran arm, maybe a team would want to take a chance on a Johnny Cueto. He's going to be a free agent after this year, so maybe a team wants a veteran arm in their rotation. At number 3, I had a combo of Miguel Andujar and Gary Sanchez. I think you could see these two be packaged together, and definitely would be a couple of young guys could help out any team, or maybe not any team, but definitely could help out a team out there, and it would kind of help the Yankees kind of just get some more flexibility within their team. Lance Lynn at number 2. John Daniels, I swear on my grandmother, you better trade Lance Lynn. And at number 1, I had Francisco Lindor. I think Francisco Lindor, this is going to be an exciting trade market for him this year. I think it's going to be very similar to Mookie Betts last year, where you're going to see a few teams at least get in on Francisco Lindor. So everyone, that is all I have for tonight. Those are my top 10 players that I think could be on the move this offseason. Comment when the video gets published, comment who you think who are some other guys that could be traded. Are there any others that I missed? I know there's probably a ton that I missed. So make sure you comment that in the comments. But that is all I have for tonight, everyone. I appreciate you all coming out tonight, and I hope you have a great weekend. Expect to see me back here Monday night. I'm really liking going live lately. I'm really liking it. I think it's nice. I like that I get to interact with all of you. I like the live shows. So expect to see me back here Monday night. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll talk to you next time.